Welcome to TehachaPod. Sit back and relax as Keybudge and Corey Costello talk about things that are happening in and around Tehachapi. Here's Corey and Key.
Welcome to another episode of Tehachapod. I'm Keybudge. Corey Costello joins me today as Greg Garrett is tied up with other city matters. So, Corey, we've had a few things that have taken place since our last podcast. We've had a city council meeting, and we've got an extension of something that I think is pretty cool since we don't have festivals to go to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, normally we'd be ready for the Apple Festival and things like that. We'd be getting ready for this year, obviously, because of COVID, that's not happening. But the good news is, as part of the city council meeting earlier this week, was the farmers market was extended again. So if you remember, a 3 weeks ago, it was extended through September, and now it's actually being extended pretty much through the month of October 29th, the very end of October. We've already seen the extension have a benefit because we've seen more local farms show up. One of the apple farms, Haas Orchards, were there with apples last week, and they'll be here in the coming weeks. So the good news is we're into our harvest season locally, so we're going to see a lot more local farms, apples, pears, come to the farmers market, which is awesome. And so that's why they wanted to extend it a little bit further, and I think it's a great idea, and we're getting that local input. And the guys from the Central Valley do a wonderful job that come up here, the produce and vegetable farmers that make the trip from other areas, but it's going to be nice to have some of our locals involved too, because we're meeting their growing season now.
Yeah, I ran over to the farmer's market last week just to get apples. So I got some of Haas apples and pears, had one of those before the show. Tasty, but just the local Tehachapi part of it, it just makes it that much nicer. And I've enjoyed the Kern County farms grabbing some stuff from Murray and some of the other vendors. And Mosner Farms, which is a local farm, he's been there, but he's been doing baked goods. Now he'll be able to bring some of it. I know he said his tomatoes were going to come in September, and the weather's different here, so we have a later harvest season.
Yeah, for sure. And to get those things is really cool. And people like that fact. It really is a true farmer's market. And that's kind of been a benefit if you want to, I try to find a silver lining out of COVID-19. And one of those, I think, has been for the farmer's market. It's gone back to, as pretty much required by law this year, an actual farmer's, you've got to be a certified farm who's selling. And so we don't have the booths that are selling stuff that aren't really farmer's market related like a flea market would. It's produce and meats and things like that from local farms. So that's kind of cool. We've gotten back to really the roots, and I think it's been popular. Main Street's made enough money to refund the farmers their entry fees, which was awesome, and they love that. I think that was a great move on their part, and those folks are even last week. Just there was one of the vendors coming up from the Bakersfield area blew a tire on the 58, but they had produce that needed to stay fairly cool. One of the other vendors that was already here got in their truck, drove down, rescued them and their produce off the highway, drove them up, and then helped them set up.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just their booth neighbor from the farmers market. So it's kind of cool that people are dedicated, and now they're actually kind of gaining relationships out of it and helping each other out. So it's kind of a cool story. It was a tough year for everybody, and
it's a sense of community, and I think that's what farmers markets were all about when they were put together.
Yeah.
It's a sense of community, and that's where we're at. And I love the fact that we're able to kind of reground ourselves in that.
For sure.
Coming up in a few minutes, I'm going to have a conversation with Tina Cunningham, who is the new incoming president for our local Kiwanis. So we're going to talk about that service group here as the featured interview in today's Tehachapod. But before we talk to Tina, we've had some other business things going on, and you handle our economic development. We've actually tried one of the new restaurants. I know there's a few that are open. You want to talk about whose doors are open now?
It's so funny that we've had, there's there was at one point about 6 new restaurants in the development phase, one phase or another, whether it's paperwork, whether it's actual construction and permits. 3 of them have opened within the last 2 weeks, a couple of them in the same week. Tacos El Superior is now officially open. They did kind of a soft opening where they said, we'll open the drive-through and practice. Well, that turned into like the cars lined up down the street, and they kept doing that.
Dude, it's been crazy. Every day I drive by and I try and adjust my hours, get there, before the 12 o'clock rush for lunch. Yeah. I don't know. I can't wait an hour to get through, but the line's up the street.
It looks like, what you see in In-N-Out Burger, right? You're seeing that these line. That's what it looks like, but it's going down Tucker Road. So anyway, good opening for them. They've actually officially said, okay, now we're open. No more these soft openings. So they've announced their hours, 11 a.m. every day through 9 p.m. I think, was it Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, or Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday night still open at 11 a.m. and they'll stay open until 10, so stay open a little later. So that's kind of cool. Had a chance to try some of the stuff. We knew somebody who was in line actually, so we kind of did like this virtual line cut. We called, hey, can you add to your order? I want to try this. So anyway, very good. The salsa is spicy, so watch yourself there. And then Four Seasons Cafe opened on the corner of Curry and Tehachapi Boulevard. I've actually eaten there 3 times. May eat their lunch today. I'm just letting you know. It's awesome. It's Thai, Vietnamese, fusion cuisine, and it is incredible. Michael Topeta and his group have really made a unique flavor. I mean, the chicken sandwiches are out of this world, and I know that was a big deal last year when Popeyes and Chick-fil-A were battling over the sandwich battle of 2019, and I think these guys have just knocked it out of the park. So they're awesome. And then Prime Bar and Grill, which you've actually been. I've not been. I couldn't even. I tried to call and get an order last week. I couldn't get through on their phone. It was busy. Yeah, we're taking so many orders. But you've been out there.
We did. Chris and I went out a few days after they opened. We sat out on the patio. They've got a beautiful patio area with the big mature pine trees over for shade. Chris had the chicken curry. I had a lamb chop. Nice. Rack of lamb. It was very good. Nice. It was just outstanding. And then of course the special bread that they've got. Yeah. It had lots of flavor, and I think that's what is nice, with Indian cuisine is tasting the spices.
Yeah. And different things. Yeah, even when I was at Four Seasons the other day, I got, like I said, their chicken sandwiches are great, but I said, I'm going to try their pork sandwich. My 3rd visit at this point. And what they did is they had like your normal kind of pulled pork, and I just say normal because then they had what I thought at first looked like red cabbage slaw. It's that purple color. Yeah. No, it was actually another pork that had this really crazy sweet and sour flavor to it. Nice. All combined on the sandwich with the slaw on top. I said, I've got like 8 different flavors going right now, and it's awesome. So it's great to have the new.
We're recording this just before the lunch hour, so this is like it's almost 11 o'clock, and I'm now thinking about what I want to do for lunch today.
Yeah, and shout out to another local restaurant. They're not new, but we had a grass fire out just outside the city limits the other day, and come to find out, Red House Barbecue was called by Kern County Fire that said, we have like 75 firefighters out here in the line. Can you make dinner? And so they delivered 75 individual meals within like 90 minutes of the phone call out to the fire scene. And I know the owner, Mono, was very proud of his staff for pulling that off the other night, but incredible. And they fed them well. Apparently the fire department, the firefighters, and then of course we're very happy in Red House. So huge shout out to them for coming through.
I'll tell you,
the clutch.
It brings back a memory for myself, my public safety life in a prior lifetime, working on fires out there, regardless if you're law enforcement or a fire department. When they would come out to feed you, I mean, it's about the guys that are holding the shovels and they're out there on the lines, putting a physical line in. They need the protein. Yeah. And they need that big piece of meat. So they called the right guys to deliver that. I remember them making steaks and baked potatoes so the guys would be carved up, they'd have their protein, and they'd be able to continue to fight the fires. So they called the right place. Yeah. Mono's not afraid to hand out a good portion. Yeah. So, good for Mono and his crew to be able to take care of that so quickly.
Yeah, it was cool. So I think these 3, new restaurants are joining a good community, and I think it just continues to add the offerings and different unique flavors to what we already have, which is outstanding.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll speak personally. If I look back over the last 6 months, we've made a lot of adjustments in how we, as a family, go about looking at dinner. And we make sure we're eating in, but when we eat out, we start shifting around, and we're making sure we get a lot of variety. Yeah. In town. So it's exposed us to some things that we hadn't tried before, which has been nice. But the businesses, got to give them credit, man. They're stepping up. Yeah. They understand, obviously, survival, but they've made adjustments in how they take care of their customers, how quickly the food is prepared. And we, I think, as maybe a society, we're making the adjustments to allow for some imperfections every once in a while, but to also give them the amount of time it takes and just being more comfortable in that curbside or drive-through type setting.
My only suggestion was y'all need to come out with diet menus, because like I'm getting fat.
Yeah.
This is like, you feel like it's your civic responsibility to go and help your friends out and eat at their restaurants. And I'm like, the problem is, I don't know, the salads are I need a better diet menu. So I'm not.
Maybe that's that's a future episode on TehachaPod. We'll get either a personal trainer or a personal chef or something to talk about some dietary things that we can do to make adjustments. But I hear you. Yeah. I absolutely hear you.
Maybe we should come up. Maybe they used to have those books years ago, Eat This, Not That, where it was like, if you have to go to fast food, like don't eat this, eat that. It's healthier. Maybe we should do like an Eat This, Not That Tehachapi edition. Where
there's got to be an app for that too.
There is an app. It is actually, it became an app after a book for sure.
Well, excellent. Well, let's head over to the conversation I had with Tina Cunningham, the incoming president with Kiwanis. We here at the city, we're part of a lot of different service organizations attending their meetings, and Kiwanis is one of those.
Yeah, I think I spoke a few weeks back, and our own former podcast guest and Miss California, Tiffany Rea, was there, I think, this week. She went and spoke. So they do a good job engaging the community, and they always want to know what's going on with the city and surrounding surrounding events. So they're a good group to stay engaged with for sure.
Well, let's check in with the conversation I had with Tina Cunningham.
You're listening to TehachaPod.
Here on TehachaPod today, we want to welcome Tina Cunningham. You are the interim president for our local Kiwanis, and you are the president-elect?
That's right.
Excellent. Well, welcome to TehachaPod.
Thank you, Keith.
So, Tina, let's talk about Kiwanis. Here in Tehachapi, it's got a long history here in the community. We want to talk about it, and hopefully it'll pique some interest in people that might want to join the organization. So can you tell us a little bit about the Kiwanis history and what Kiwanis is all about and why it's here in Tehachapi?
Kiwanis Club is an international organization of service clubs. They're all over the world. The Kiwanis organization was founded in 1915 in Detroit, Michigan by a group of businessmen, and it was more of a networking situation. It later evolved into a service organization. The original name was the Supreme Lodge Benevolent Order Brothers, and they got tired of being called Bob. So
it doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Right. They changed the name. They took an Indian term. It was Nun Kiwanis, which means, apparently, we trade. Or a better translation that they found out later was, we have a good time, we make noise. They changed that motto in 1920 to we build. And then later, in 2005, they changed it to serving the children of the world, which is what our mission is. And that reflects the primary focus of the club.
Serving the children of the world.
Yes, that is the motto. In 1961, the organization expanded beyond the United States and Canada to become an international organization. And there are hundreds of Kiwanis clubs all over the world. In 1987 was a real breakthrough because they welcomed women into the club. The vote was taken at the International Convention in Washington, D.C., and it was significant because the amendment to the proposal was that being open to women would be for every club in the world. And, of course, there are many countries in the world where women don't have the same kind of status. That was a significant advancement on the part of Kiwanis and women's rights.
As it funnels down from the international ranks here into the United States, and then it gets a lot more local, obviously, having a Tehachapi chapter, but we've also got a regional chapter.
It's divided into, around the world, divided into districts. And our division, it's Division 33, which is 10 clubs in western Kern County from Tehachapi West.
Great. So regionally, all very close. You guys were able to support each other.
Yes, the division works very closely together. We just had a food drive that was a big success. We set up out in front of the Slice of Life Enrichment School on Valley Boulevard. The people of Tehachapi are so generous. It was just a great success. And we took the food down, drove it down to the Kern County Food Bank. That was a project of the division. Well,
let's talk about some of the things that go on here in Tehachapi. I mean, so the food drive just took place here recently in August, end of August. And that was a regional event or a division event. And then each of the chapters within the division supports, and the food is going to go to the Kern County Food Bank to help support families in need here in Kern County.
Right. Kern County Food Bank supplies 70 food banks around the county.
Wow.
A lot of them. And it helps homeless people. It has supplies for disasters. It's huge. I'd never been down there. You drive in there, and it's just a big facility. They do a great job.
Well, it's outstanding.
Yeah.
The community showed up to support, and you guys were able to take down a truck and another carload.
Yeah, it
of
was.
Food. That's a lot of food, for just a few hours of gathering.
Yeah, people stopped. I was hoping that they were going grocery shopping, right? And then when they could see the signs, and then when they came back, they would drop things off. And they are also seeing advanced publicity. And I'd like to give a real thank you to a gentleman who volunteered his truck to help drive the food down there. His name is Ben Stevens.
Is Ben a member of the club, or
No.
was he was just a volunteer in the community, wanted to help to support this positive action?
Yes,
Love
he came in the morning to bring food, and he said, how are you going to get this down there? And I said, well, this morning I woke up with my stomach in knots because I thought nobody's going to come, and I could take it all down there in my little car. And it became obvious quickly that it would never fit in there. And so he volunteered to come back with his full-size truck, and we filled up the truck and my car.
That's
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
So,
it was great, so we're thankful to him.
and that was an on-the-spot volunteerism, able to help the organization. He felt good, helped the group. It helped many families that were going to need food in Kern County. That's, that's so telling.
Yeah.
And that's really that kind of response is really what Kiwanis is about. And I know that that's what we're trying to grow as we start to talk about some of the other things that are going on. But that, to me, just spurs right away. There's an opportunity here for people that have that spirit of wanting to help. And Kiwanis, I think, might be able to fulfill that spirit of giving, of need, of volunteerism.
Absolutely. It goes on many levels. I'll tell you what we're doing locally, but let me back up for a minute, talk about what Kiwanis International does on the international level. Well, there have been 2 global campaigns for children, and what's going on now, Kiwanis is providing money in conjunction with UNICEF to combat neonatal and maternal tetanus, and it's a horrible disease that affects newborns and mothers. The babies just die in terrible pain. Our club, we've contributed $8,000 to this project. The Kiwanis International pledged $100 million to this project. And neonatal tetanus, the whole list of countries that they have eradicated the problem. It happens when there's not clean circumstances at birth. There's about 27 countries where it has been eradicated. And that's just one thing on that level. Anne-Marie Novinger, one of our longtime members, was spearheading the fundraising for that, and she did a great job. And I just want to give a shout out to Anne-Marie. The project before that, the first global campaign, was eliminating iron deficiency. Now, iron deficiency, if children have iron deficiency, they can't develop mentally properly, and that was the first project. So on an international level, Kiwanis does that. Now, if we want to bring it down to locally, what our club does, and what I would like to emphasize is that there's a lot of challenges now, and especially with, say, COVID, people have been isolated, and we would like to offer interaction. We're meeting in person at my house, actually, and some of the members come in person, some of the members come remotely, and we would like to welcome everybody. There are a lot of people out there who are feeling isolated and disconnected from other people. This club is a really good way to connect with other people while you're doing something to help. So locally, 2 parts to the club, fundraising and service. Fundraising is very important because that supports the service projects. So many of our members, like in the last year, I think 4 people have retired and moved actually away and out of state. And that leaves a big hole in the membership. So we are really looking for fresh new ideas and fresh new people, which they're coming in too.
And how can, if someone is listening and they go, I do want to get involved, where do they reach out? How do they get involved?
Call me. We're way behind on our website. That was kind of fallen into disrepair. So we're working on that. My number is 661-822-4515.
That's Tina Cunningham. She is the new president of Kiwanis here in Tehachapi. So again, Tina, that's 822-4515. 4515. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
That's my landline, and you can leave a message on that.
You could see people that if they've got a skill set, maybe in the web design or in social media or something like that, those are things, those are areas that would be helpful right away, and that would be an area that they could serve the organization.
Absolutely. We do need an overhaul on the internet presence.
Great.
We really do.
And you need hands on deck as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, some of the things we do here, okay, our main fundraiser, the Display the Flag project, and I've handled that for the last few years, and it's very popular with our subscribers. For 6 patriotic holidays of the year, we bring flags on a 10-foot pole, big, beautiful American flags, and we put them in your front yard, and then we come by and pick them up later. The biggest day for that is always July 4th. It's big family time and lots of kids running around. And that's been a real steady fundraiser, and people really appreciate it. That it's confined to the city limits of Tehachapi.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would be unwieldy.
So by the time this podcast airs, Labor Day would have been the last one that you have just put flags out for.
Yes.
And then following that, we'll be looking at Veterans Day
Yes.
in November.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like to have a nice display of patriotism in your yard, we can do that for Veterans Day. Is there a set donation that needs to be done?
Oh, yes.
What's the...
Yeah, it is a fundraiser.
Right.
And so we charge $50 for the 6 days, 6 patriotic days.
You get all 6 of the days in the year, in the calendar year, for the $50. It gets brought out 6 different times,
Yeah.
set up, and taken down. They don't have to do any work other
That's
than
right.
this tax-deductible donation that goes
Right.
to the Kiwanis organization.
That's
Okay.
right, yeah. As I said, people love it. There are a lot of military veterans, and
There's a sense of pride to go along with
Yeah.
the patriotism that display.
we really love doing that.
And if someone would like to do that, what's the process to become one of the supporters for this flag program?
Again, just call me,
Okay, let's give the number again. It's 822
4515.
4515.
Yes, right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that's our main fundraiser. Another fundraiser we have going, which really isn't much of a fundraiser, but it's a lot of fun, is what I call our acorn scramble.
Okay.
Okay, I've got this big jar. It's a candle jar, and I filled it full of acorns from a tree in my front yard. We counted the acorns and sealed it up, put the answer in an envelope in the top, right in the top, and sealed it up. And we're selling guesses, how many people guessing how many acorns in the jar for $1. And we've been at the farmers market, which I thank the city of Tehachapi for making that available. I'm so glad that you kept the farmers market going.
And it's going to continue through October if with council's approval.
Oh, through October.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was a
good.
request made, and council will look at that. But we anticipate that farmers market will continue through October, which now includes all of our local farmers where things are coming to harvest right now, and they missed that little bit of a window. Now they get that window to sell the fresh produce.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Plus, I get
You get more opportunity to
Yeah.
reach out to the community there.
Yeah, it really is. It's wonderful in that you can see so many of the residents, so many people, and so many young families who are recent arrivals in Tehachapi. It's really wonderful. So we're doing that. It's as I said, it's not Great Shakes as a fundraiser, but the person who gets the closest will get half of what we bring in, and then Boy Scout Troop 136. We sponsor Boy Scout Troop 136. They'll get a quarter, and then Kiwanis will get a quarter of what we bring in.
And you'll have that in display for the rest of the farmers markets.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you get a chance. It's $1 a guess. I know I threw in a few bucks. I've got a couple of guesses there on the table, and Tina has not in any way given me any kind of a hint if I'm close or hotter or colder.
No, it's really fascinating to see the range. And when we're finished, I'm going to do a story for the papers and analyze the guesses. You know, what is the range? What is the median? What is the mode? Just to see, because I think it's fascinating to see what people say. And it's fascinating to see the kids, kids come in there and they look at that, and see what they think. Anyway,
Well, I can see the kids might have an opportunity. Some of the kids that are getting into the geometry and start looking at the volume, and those formulas, because it's a math equation, that some of those kids might just nail it.
Could be.
I mean, I looked at it and I was trying to do my best math equation. I go, all right, I'm just going to put down a number.
Well, the shape of the jar is kind of deceptive. I mean, it goes like that. So it's kind of hard to. Some people who are engineers have come in and tried to look at it technically, and it's very difficult.
So for those that are listening, what Tina had referenced with her hands is kind of an hourglass kind of a shape, and it stands about 1.5 feet tall, maybe.
Yeah, I have the measurements if anybody wants.
What I think if anyone
big.
wants to know is they need to come out to farmers market, take a look at it, and then bring a couple of bucks and put those guesses down.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
What else do we? Oh, as I said, we sponsor the Scouts Troop 136, and they've been so helpful. They help with the flag delivery, and they helped out on the food collection. They're great kids. Who were the kids? Oh, the kids at Food Drive holding signs. Hunter Nicolay and Adrian Bessard. They were just terrific kids. We've done the prayer breakfast for 53 years.
Wow.
Yeah. course, we couldn't do it this past
Right.
year, but we're already planning for the next one. It's in the National Day of Prayer, and this year it's May 6th.
In 2021.
Yep. So we're already planning for that. If anybody wants to volunteer to help or has any ideas for a speaker, give me a call.
Outstanding.
And let's see. And we help out with breakfast with Santa. We're scaling our efforts. We just had a board meeting yesterday, and we're scaling our efforts to meet what we can do. I mean, we can't take on any gigantic projects. By the way, I forgot to mention scholarship. We gave a scholarship, $1,000 scholarship to Megan Williams, the Tehachapi High School graduate. As far as service, we're scaling that to what we can do. I just contacted Tompkins School because I've done a lot of reporting and I've seen a lot of inside schools. I do substitute teaching as well. And in every school, there are always things like volleyball nets that are coming apart and balls that get lost and things that they need. I talked to them and I said, well, what do you need? What can we do for you? And they said, well, something like balls, jump ropes, and hula hoops. And so that's something that we can do.
Right.
It's not gigantic, but it's something for the kids. It'll be ready for them when they come back. So
Yeah.
we're talking to them.
Well, it's a good time to plan for it. I mean, I know right now the fall quarter is going to be the virtual classroom, and then we'll see as we get closer to that second quarter of the year if the kids will be back in school or not. But hopefully at some point in this school year, the kids will be back, and you guys are going to make sure that they step on the playground and they have the activity tools that they can jump right back in and feel like they can burn all that energy they've kind of.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, and we can do things like that, and also provide instruments for the band and things like that.
Nice.
Some of the projects that Kiwanis clubs do are just amazing. I guess I can't go into the whole thing, but they just do amazing projects. A lot of them involve book drives, providing kids with books, and anyway, so we're looking for new things like that to do.
A lot of supportive things for children.
Yeah.
Really want to hit the volunteerism again here in the community, because right now, if someone is thinking about it, that's really kind of piquing my interest. I'm not sure how much time I've got. Could I start to participate, maybe come to a meeting, whether it's virtually, and kind of get a better feel and introduce myself that way? Or what's the process?
Just come to the meetings or join remotely. I know some people are not comfortable with those remote meetings yet, but I could actually walk you through it. Or come to my house, because I always have a fruit and veggie and cheese and cracker tray, because it's at lunchtime. It's Wednesdays at noon. One thing that since I took over that I've made sure that we have interesting speakers. I know this is one thing that people really appreciate. Since I took over, we've had Christina Scrivener, Gail Pitchford, who's the concertmaster of the Symphony Orchestra, Ashley Whitmore, manages the airport.
Yeah.
And we had that meeting at the airport.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. So I like to do that.
Little field trip, and
Yeah.
you get a chance to see kind of not just what people explain, but you can actually see it.
Yes. Yeah. And it was great. That was a good meeting. Corey Costello came, and Lorena Samarenko, who is the principal of the high school section of Heritage Oak School. Coming up, we've got Tiffany Ray. She's just a great young lady.
Miss California, United States.
Miss California, United States, who is going to be competing in Las Vegas for Miss United States.
Yes.
Yeah. I interviewed her years ago when she was that big. And she came by the food drive to drop off some food with her mom, Debbie. Mm-hmm. And she looked sensational. She was wearing this blood red dress, tight elastic dress, and high heels they looked like they were red too. And they were, anyway, she's just...
I'm going to say probably with the red polka dots, because she had her blood drive on the day of, and so I'm sure she was on her way or coming from that event, because we had her on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about her shoes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if I should say that, but it was like blood splatter,
She thought that the nursing staff would get a kick out of that, and she planned that.
Yeah, that's what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's just great. And then we're going to have Susan Miner, who owns the Slice of Life. She was very kind to let us use their parking lot.
What a nice facility that is. They've really done wonders transforming that into a usable space for the community.
Yeah, it really is nice. Those are some of our speakers,
Excellent.
and there's just so many interesting people around here.
Tehachapi as a whole, and we were talking about this on the previous podcast, we've got creative people. We have technically involved people in different fields, just such an array of talented people that live here in Tehachapi that work in different facets or they're retired from. There's a lot of talent that's here in our community.
A lot of talent, a lot of knowledge, a lot of very compassionate people.
Very giving.
Yes,
Yes.
very much so.
So it's a great time to join the organization and become involved.
Yes.
And with Kiwanis focusing on children on an international basis, and whether it's their health, the well-being, those projects, it's pretty exciting. I think it's a well worth the time to at least explore if this is where you want to spend some time to help, locally, which can have an impact beyond just our Tehachapi area.
Yeah, and we're looking for fresh ideas and fresh people. It's very exciting. I've been secretary for about 10 years and trying to avoid the idea of ever being president. And then Michelle left, and I stepped forward, and I love being president because you're in control. You can make things happen.
Good.
And I love it. It just feels good. And here's my motto for this year. Kiwanis Club of Tehachapi, the little club with the big heart.
That's right. So let's the folks stop by and visit our Kiwanis booth that's going to be at the farmers market, hopefully through the end of October. Is what we believe. Yeah. Or you can reach out to Tina if you've got questions or interested in maybe participating in one of the weekly meetings and maybe hopefully venture into becoming a member of the club. Again, let's give that phone number to reach out to you.
661-822-4515. But my cell phone is 310-508-8160.
What's funny is Tina being a journalist, and I told her we sat down, I go, it's going to be different for you. I'm going to ask you questions. That's the flip on this, is you're used to being the one retrieving the information and trying to ask the questions. So how did it feel being on the other side?
Well, you're a very good interviewer, Key.
Oh, thank you.
You are, because you ask a question and then you let me answer.
Well, thank you for that. If that's your takeaway, it was a positive experience. I know it's different to try and get information out rather than pulling it and extracting it. You're waiting for that opportunity to give it when you're on the interviewee side. It's different being on both sides of the seat. I could say that.
Well, I know a lot of interviewers. They throw out a question and then they're just thinking about the next question.
Right, not listening to what's being said.
That's right.
Yeah, it's about the follow up. There's more into it. And I'll share this with you. Since Dan Rather retired from 60 Minutes and moved on to doing some other shows that he does. He's a fascinating interviewer, and he does have his set questions, but he always follows back and then listens to what they say, and it's whatever he pulls from that impromptu question or whatever he's drawn out of the response. I always find are the most fascinating answers that come from that person being interviewed, not the setup questions. So,
well, I know what you're saying, because often the person you're interviewing will just allude to something or bring something up, and then you want to, go in that direction because that's the interesting direction.
Right. Well,
so thank you.
Tina Cunningham, I'm just going to call you the president of Kiwanis because you were in the interim basis, but that is the position you're going to fulfill here in the future. So
that's right.
Thank you for stepping up when Michelle retired and moved on. And left the area. So we appreciate you running the organization. It's going to be exciting. I know there's going to be positive energy. Let's visit you at the farmers market. Let's give you a call. Participate on Wednesdays at noon. And let's get the club membership up because it's about helping children.
Yes. Thank you.
So Tina Cunningham, Kiwanis, right here in Tehachapi. Thank you very much for spending the time with us.
Thanks, Key.
You're listening to TehachaPod.
Hats off to the people that participate in these groups. And I know there's some that overflow and they might be a part of a couple of groups. But my goodness, they do a lot of great things. As Tina talked about, just what Kiwanis does. We know what Rotary does. And looking after the kids, families in need. There's a lot of things that get addressed.
Yeah, and it's all about the people involved, too. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of crossover because of being a small community, people involved in multiple things. But there are a lot of folks that champion certain causes. I know Tina has pointed out that Eve Geisler helps her out tremendously. She's really big into the flag program.
And Tina sent me an email saying, I blew it. I forgot to mention Eve by name. She's my sidekick. Without her, I would be nothing. So she sent me an email saying, please tell Eve thank you.
Yeah, and she does a great thing with the flag program in the outlying areas, because you used to do it in the city, but the city actually has flags on. We already have them up on the poles, and so she's got, I know, at Red Apple out towards Golden Hills, and she'll get up on Labor Day. They were up, and Kiwanis is in charge of that program, and they'll put the flags out on the holidays, which is awesome. And then the best part about a lot of folks that live here, you probably know Eve without knowing Eve, because she's the joke lady, and so she's got a joke for you every time she sees strangers on the street. She will stop and tell you a joke. So
yes, she will.
You know who I'm talking about.
Absolutely correct. And let's give out Tina's number if you're interested in joining Kiwanis. They are actively looking for new members, and her number is 661-822-4515. And Tina will welcome the call, and they're looking for anyone that just wants to be hands on deck, or maybe you've got a skill set because they need a little help with their website and social media. So you can do that stuff from home, and they've got virtual meetings as well as in person. So give Tina a call, 661-822-4515. Something else she also wanted to mention that Kiwanis participates in that we forgot to talk about during the interview was they help out with the Salvation Army at Christmas time with the bell ringing program.
Yeah.
They help out TVRPD with volunteers for the fishing derby. And then they also give out high school scholarships. Nice. So a lot of things that they're involved in. So if you'd like that or to be a part of another organization, we'll have the Rotary Club coming up. And we're going to talk to as many different civic organizations that we've got here in the community that would like to talk to our audience. One of those coming up also, Saracoso Foundation. Mm-hmm. Lauren Falk, we've talked with Lauren. We talked about the college. Yeah. And now we're going to talk about the foundation, which is out raising money and taking care of different needs, within their organization.
Yeah, and it's an important. I mean, any college has a foundation, whether it's a university level or community college. Saracoso has a unique challenge because they have so many campuses, from the home base in Ridgecrest to the East Kern Center in Tehachapi, out to Edwards Air Force Base, a small campus in California City, I believe, in a one-unit suite that they rent. So they're all over the place, and so they have this really unique challenge of fundraising for a multitude of needs. And so Lauren does a great job engaging the community. And so, we're looking forward to talk to her. And Saracoso continues to grow, as we talked about on a previous show, with them on their class offerings. And it's really cool to see that higher education need here in the community be addressed. And Saracoso obviously needs, they get community college district funding, but they also have things that need to be funded via the foundation because that taxpayer money is sometimes limited. So foundations are super important.
So we will feature Saracoso in an upcoming episode. So make sure you subscribe to TehachaPod. And we'd love to connect with you each and every single time we open up the microphones and share some information. And we'd love to hear from you, too. If you've got an idea on a future topic, send us an email, media@TehachapiCityHall.com. And we've got some things in the works, but we do know for sure Saracoso's coming up. Yeah. We've got we talked about the young author of the comic book series.
Right.
And there'll be a few other special episodes that we'll have in the coming weeks. So make sure you subscribe. Let us know what you think. Media@TehachapiCityHall.com.
That's it for me. Just subscribe to this. I mean, literally, subscribe to the podcast. You need to do that. Bump these numbers up. We've got to win awards. No, it's great. I mean, I think we really encourage a subscription, and wherever you get the podcast to subscribe so you don't forget about us. You just automatically gets updated on your phone.
And thank you for those that are subscribers, because we see our numbers grow. Yeah. Each and every single time we put out an episode, our followership continues to grow. So, and we start seeing that the old episodes are still relevant and they're being listened to and downloaded. Thank you for that, because I think the message we're trying to push across is about what's going on in the community.
Yeah. And we got, we have certain episodes scheduled, but things also pop up and we need to get it out, and we need to get it out as a podcast. So that'll continue to happen. And then, like he said, the email is important. If there's a story, I'd love to hear from you. We can't be all-knowing, all-powerful, and be everywhere at once. So let us know something of great human interest in this community for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.